Welcome back to the channel today, guys. I thought today would be a great day to start our weekly roundup of the series that came out this week. And first things first, I wanted to talk about my favorite show from this season, and it's not even really that close. Oshi No Ko. Now, after the incredible first episode we had last week, there was no conceivable way episode 2 could top it. That's just a fact. And I don't believe it did. But it gave us a really good look into how our series is going to be moving forward, and it was still just as good. Let's talk about that opening and ending, dude. When I started the episode, I didn't expect to hear some hip-hop immediately, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, yo, let's go. I'm down for it. I love both of them. They are great. So let's just get straight into it and talk about episode 2 because we have a little bit of interesting stuff to go over. Now, after the events of our first episode, things will never quite be the same again. This whole family is forever different. But it's here. We're going to start by talking about Ruby. Now, Ruby, despite the trauma that she went through and the hardship she had to face, is desperately working hard to become an idol just like her mother, as we see the rigorous process that she has to go through to become an idol. The amount of hoops you have to jump through, it's kind of ridiculous. And we see that despite everything that's happened, she's working hard to follow in her mother's footsteps and to make her proud of her. And it's here as we see that Ruby's doing so well that we need to talk about Aqua a bit. Because you see, unlike her, I would argue Aqua hasn't gotten over anything at all. It still hits him extremely deep, and he is a very different person after the previous events. Because nowadays, he always has a gloomy face, and he never seems to be having fun no matter what. As we see that over the past 10 years, he's constantly been trying to stop Ruby from being an idol and following in their mother's footsteps. And it's here we see that he's not the only one that's changed drastically over the past 10 years. As we learn that Ichigo, Ai's old manager, actually fell out of contact after the incident. And his wife, Mayuko, took over the agency. Now, like a lot of you, I didn't think that Mayuko would have such a big role in the show. As we saw that in the first episode, she was just a woman that wanted a younger husband no matter what. But I really like that because she's a good mother influence on Ruby. We see that B. Kamachi, after having lost Ai, ended up disbanding. And Strawberry Productions, their production company, no longer even has an idol department. Instead, they work on managing internet personalities. Basically like YouTubers. Yo, they need to hire me, guys. I could use the help. Now, we see that Mayuko wants to do another idol group. She wants to do it, as she says herself, that the dream that I showed us was an experience I can't easily forget. But she realizes while being the manager of this production company that miracles like that don't happen twice. She has to be realistic about this. And it's here as Mayuko is explaining this to Ruby. She suddenly gets a call from the audition people about being an idol. But unfortunately, and heartbreakingly, she's told no. And she is devastated. As Mayuko even tells her, that's reality for you. Now, I don't really like this scene that much, honestly. And I'm going to explain to you guys why now. Because as we transition to the next scene, we hear the director say, the fact you can fool your own twin sister shows you've got some real acting chops, kid. As we realize that Aqua was the one that just called her and pretended to be from the audition and told her she didn't make it. As he even says, I already sent them a short text from Ruby's phone saying she was withdrawing. Plus, I blocked their number in her settings. They won't call her again. And that is just really messed up, guys. Like, I get it. After the previous events, I get why he would be so, like, protective and not want her to go down the same path, especially with what we learned in this episode. But that is so fucked up. That's so messed up. As the director even asks him, why are you going to such lengths to crush your own sister's dreams? Your sister's a real beauty. She actually has a chance of making it, you know. As Aqua tells him flat out, I'm not letting her become an idol. I won't let her tread in I's steps. You can count on that. As we see that he's convinced himself that it's better if it's just me, that I alone will see that this is taken care of. Because if you remember from our first episode, Aqua is a man on a mission now, and he doesn't want Ruby to be involved in this at all, even if it means crushing her dreams. I don't know if I like that, but I do get it. But it's here we see that the universe just works in mysterious ways, guys. As we see Ruby walking home one day, and we see a producer come up to her and hand her a card. As she comes home and tells her family, yeah guys, I was just scouted right off the street. Crazy, right? They want me for one of those underground idol groups. As Ruby even says, Mom was also scouted right off the street, right? I must be guided by fate here, don't you think? As we see that Aqua and Mayako are a little less convinced than her, to say the least. So naturally after hearing this, he wants nothing more than to stop her, as he even says so to Mayako later. And Mayako gets where he's coming from as she says, look, after what happened to I sympathize with you not wanting to let your sister follow that same path. I still find myself thinking that if I've done this or that back then, maybe things would have been different now. But I've raised Ruby while thinking of her as my own daughter. But because I think of her as my daughter, that's all the more reason why I can't stop her from feeling the way she does. And you can't either. She's even come to look more and more like I as the days go on. I hate to say it, but she definitely has the qualities to make it, Aqua. As she tells him flat out, it was always going to turn out like this. You know that too. But being as stubborn as ever and not wanting to be deterred, we see that Aqua has come up with a plan. And with a little bit of schmoozing, he's able to figure out exactly what this group Ruby wants to join is like. Now, after talking with one of this group's members and realizing just how bad this group sounds on paper, they can't let her join. As Mayako even says, you know, with underground idol groups, there are some managers who have a proven track record, but there are some people who lean into their love of idols and do it as something of a hobby. Those are not good managers. As Aqua tells her, regardless, I'm not going to let Ruby join a group where bad rumors are spreading from. As he tells Mayako, there are all kinds of ways we can handle this situation. I could hire a detective and spread all their dirty secrets around online. That should stop Ruby from getting into the group. As we see that even Mayako has kind of been taken aback by just how much Aqua's changed. As he says it again, that I have no intention of letting Ruby become an idol, least of all in some group with untrustworthy management. But it's here we see that later that night, as Mayako is sitting there thinking everything over and reminiscing about the past, we see that as Ruby's new mother, she feels very differently about this than Aqua does. And it's here the next day as Ruby's getting ready to go audition for this really shitty group. She asks her flat out, Ruby, are you serious about this? You know the world you're about to enter into is a harsh place, right? You might not sell well and end up feeling miserable. And it's not just from a salary aspect either. In your private life, falling victim to stalking is a familiar story these days. But it's here, even knowing this, even knowing firsthand the kind of horrible things that can happen from being an idol, we see that Ruby is bound and determined no matter what. As even Aqua asks her, "Do you really mean this?" And she tells him, "Absolutely." And it's here upon hearing this, Mayuko tells her, "Well, don't join that group then if you're serious. Because if you really mean that, then join our agency." As she says, Strawberry Productions will be putting together a new idol group for the first time in over a decade. And after crossing some T's and dotting some I's, Ruby is now the first idol to sign with Strawberry Productions in over a decade. As Mayuko tells her, "All right, we're done. If you pull anything, we'll sue ya." If I was Ruby, I'd be like, "Thanks, Mom. Thanks for that." And we see she even has to tell Aqua that, look, this is a necessary procedure for her to enter the performing arts department in her school as well. So don't get mad about this, Aqua. Don't try to sabotage this. As he tells her, look, I never said I was against this, and I won't, okay? And it's here as we transition to our next scene, and we see that Aqua goes and meets the director, who he's become the apprentice of, and who still lives with his mother, by the way. Let's not overlook that little weird little tidbit. We see that since he's still so young, he can't really be a huge part of the work, and he can't have a formal job, but the director has him editing his movies for him, kind of dipping his toes into the industry in a way. As the director says, "So your sister's gonna be an idol after all, huh? Are you okay with this, as her brother?" As Aqua tells him, it's better than having her perform with some group from Lord knows where. With our family managing the group, I doubt things will go south. As the director says, man, both siblings are going to be entertainers, huh? What a crazy world we live in. But Aqua's got to burst that bubble as he says, no, not both of us. I prefer to work behind the scenes now. But it's here the director is not as convinced as he says, so you don't have an itch to take up acting at all again, huh? Aren't you applying to the same school as your sister? As Aqua tells him, no, only Ruby's trying to get into the performing arts department. I'm going for standard education. But again, this director knows him well, and he's not convinced, as he says, when you came and asked to be my apprentice, you had this look on your face like you were dead set on being an actor. But it's here we see Aqua's true thoughts on the matter as he thinks to himself, to me, being an actor was a mere means to an end. It's for finding the man who brought about Ai's death, for finding my father, and giving him a taste of the pain that I endured. As he says, by a twist of fate, the key for detecting him lies within myself. I should be able to identify him through a hair or mucosal DNA test. But to do so, it's necessary I secure a position where I can come in direct contact with entertainers. As he says, being an actor would be the quickest route to do that, but if I just need to be involved in the entertainment industry, I don't mind being an AD or someone working behind the scenes. So now that we understand why he decides to work behind the scenes now, he even tells the director, though they were minor roles, I came to understand something by appearing in a number of your films. I have no talent for acting. There are loads of people in the world who try their best as actors, but can't draw an audience. And I was just one of them. I don't have that special something the way I did. But upon hearing this, the director is fed up with this. As he says the line that sticks with me the most this episode, as he says, look, if kids don't dream, who else can even hope to? As he even tells Aqua, listen, here's some advice from a middle-aged man who's kept dreaming for 20 years. Every single person has the right to dream. As Aqua tells him, you know, there might have been a time when I thought I had talents comparable to I. But unlike I I am. And the director has had enough, as he says, I this, I that. Enough already. You sound like a freaking ape. It's true that I was amazing. She indeed may have been truly special. But that said, you can never be I, and she can never be you. As he tells Aqua, did I have the same production know-how you do? Did she have your intellect? Don't shy away just because you've had a setback or two. Only say things like that after you've used all the tools at your disposal. As he asks him the important question here, you want to be an actor, don't you? It's written all over your face. And I gotta say, guys, I love the dynamics we've introduced in the show of how Ruby seems to have Mayako in her corner and how Aqua has the director. They have these two parent figures in their lives that are pushing them to follow their dreams, and I love that. And for Aqua in particular, he's having it so tough, but the director he's a really good influence in his life right now. And I really like that. I really liked this scene a lot. And as we transition to our next scene here, we're going to start breaking down how our story is going to be moving forward as we're introduced to Yotu High School. I definitely butchered that name, but whatever. It's an integrated middle and high school and one of the few in Japan that has a performing arts department. And not just anyone can apply for performing arts. To even get into it, you need to produce a certificate showing you are affiliated with a talent agency. That's what Mayako was talking to Aqua about earlier in the episode. Of how to even get into this department of the school, she had to join an agency, just in general. Really strict school, I gotta say. I didn't have to do that to get into drama, I'll tell you that. And it's here as we see that these two were accepted into the school without a hitch. All of a sudden, we see quite a familiar face come back onto the scene. As Ruby's just like, oh my god, it's the genius child actor who can lick baking soda off the floor. I remember you. As she has to reintroduce herself, because that's wrong, as she introduces herself as Kana Arima. As we see that she remembers Aqua very well. And our episode ends with her learning that he didn't even join this school for the performing arts department, and she is shocked. And guys, I gotta say, I'm loving this show so much. It's gonna be so great. Just immediately, just watching the episodes, you can tell that this is 100% probably going to be a standout show of this year. I already think it's the best show this season so far. I think this is going to be one of the standout series throughout the whole year. I feel very strongly about this. If it continues with the level of quality that we're going to get in these episodes. And I just love the fact that this show is just going to really break down the entertainment industry like to a T and show the realities of it. I love that. I can't wait for it. And I can't wait for the next episode. I hope you guys are excited too, because I really am. So until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, and let's enjoy this ride together. I'll see you guys next time.